Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Just a short pre-recorded video here to bring you the news regarding Alexandre Lacazette. Reports coming out of France in the last couple of hours suggesting that Alexandre Lacazette is on the verge of returning to his former club Olympique Lyonnais after a number of years at the Arsenal. Now this report has since been backed up by The Athletic as well, who say that Alex Lacazette is on the cusp of returning to his former club. Now, it was clear that Alexandre Lacazette wasn't going to stay at the Arsenal. I think when we kind of started to hear from Mikel Arteta that it was going to be discussed in the summer, I think it became pretty apparent that the intention probably wasn't there on either side for this relationship to continue. Alexandre Lacazette had stepped up to the plate following Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's departure, and I thought for a period of time did a really good job of leading that front line, of linking up and connecting the play between himself, the midfield, and of course the wingers, who were really prospering under sort of Lacazette's guidance during that particular part of the season. But as the season went on, his form started to drop off, and Alexandre Lacazette throughout his Arsenal career, I think, has been fairly inconsistent. I think that's the thing that you could label at him. At times he's looked really good, at times he's looked like a top striker, at times he's looked like a real leader on and off the field, and someone that was good value to keep around the club. And I'm not for a second disputing his character, I'm not for a second disputing his attitude, his desire to succeed, or his willingness to succeed, or indeed his professionalism. I thought he was really good in those areas and had been throughout his Arsenal career. But it just started to become apparent, didn't it, towards the back end of this season just gone, that Alexandre Lacazette wasn't capable of maintaining that level over a long period of time. And I think that was one of a number of reasons as to why Arsenal struggled to finish off the season in the way we'd have liked. Now, Eddie Nketiah came in and did an okay job, but I think that for all the qualities that he brought in terms of that threat in behind, the pace, the aggression, the ability to press a little bit more aggressively than Alexandre Lacazette would have, for example, I think his game just lacked that little bit of sophistication that we needed at times to break certain opponents down. So I think with Lacazette, when you look back on his Arsenal career, it's really difficult to kind of come to any set judgment as to whether his signing was a success or a failure. This is a guy that we signed for a deal in the region of £46.5 million back in the summer of 2017. It was by no means chump change, and I think it was an exciting signing at the time. But did he really live up to that level? 71 goals in 206 games. It's by no means disastrous, but it's not the level that we thought Lacazette was going to reach. As I say, there was a point in the season where I would have said, give him a one-year extension because of the positive effect that he has on the changing room, on the young players around him, and you know, the wider team. But I think towards the back end of the season, we started to see exactly why Alexandre Lacazette is somebody that we do need to upgrade on. And at this stage in his career, I think he probably needs to downgrade a little bit in terms of the club and downgrade in terms of what's going to be expected of him, because I'm not sure that physically he's quite 100% anymore. He seems to burn out in games really early on, can't maintain that all-action style that Mikel Arteta is demanding from his centre-forward. And so I think it was right for him to move on. But what do I make of his return to Lyon? Well, it's his home. That's where he made his name. That's where he broke through. That's where he showed everybody what a good player he was. And that's where he produced the form that led to Arsenal paying £46.5 million for him. I think there's a lot to be said for players returning to their homes when it comes to football. It's nice to see. It makes you feel warm inside. It's brilliant. And I'm happy for him that he's managed seemingly to get the move back to the club with whom it all started for him. A little bit surprised. No, actually, I'm not surprised, because I didn't think that anybody in a higher bracket would necessarily be interested in Lacazette based on the reasons I've said. But it's interesting because not too long ago he made some comments, didn't he, about the want to be back in the Champions League and the kind of, I guess he kind of suggested that he feels that he's a Champions League level player. So to go back to Lyon, who don't have Champions League football next season, could be seen as him being a little bit of a hypocrite. I think that those comments at the time were taken a little bit out of context. I'm sure he would love to play in the Champions League, and I'm sure he would have loved to have, you know, potentially stuck around with the Arsenal if we could have got ourselves back into the Champions League. But I think regardless of whether we did or not, the decision on Lacazette was already made. Mikel Arteta kept saying, wait till the end of the season, we'll discuss it at the end of the season. I think it's been clear for a while that he was always headed for the exit. So whilst that deal is not officially done and it hasn't been officially announced yet, L'Équipe and The Athletic are both reporting, and as I quote, that Alex Lacazette is on the cusp of joining Lyon. So yeah, let's see. Let's see when we get an announcement on that. But not a surprise to me. Thought he'd move on. Thought Lyon would be a good fit for him. And Jean-Michel Aulas, the club's president, spoke, didn't he? I think back in February, about how interested he was in potentially bringing Lacazette back to the football club. Well, it looks as though he's got his wish. It looks as though Lacazette is on his way back home. And fingers crossed it works out for him. Because as I say, he was a good servant to the club. Always displayed the right attitude, the right values. Always gave his all, I felt, even if at times he just wasn't quite good enough, just wasn't quite at the level we required. An elite striker? Probably not. Not the elite striker we thought we were signing when we signed the cheque for £46.5 million, but a very good striker, a very good team player, and someone who can certainly add a lot of quality. Listen, I think going back to France will do him good. I think culturally, but also in terms of him sort of recalibrating himself to the level that I think he's currently at nowadays. I think it's a good move for him. I think it's a good move for Lyon, and I think it's one of those situations where everybody wins. He gave us some great moments, and I'll always remember lots of them, and I'll always think of him fondly, because even when, Aubameyang came in, and even when there were periods where he was very much on the peripheries of this Arsenal side, despite just a year or so prior to that being this big mega money signing, I never ever felt that you got that rotten attitude off of him. I never ever felt that he downed tools. I never ever felt that there was a lack of professionalism, or that there was a selfishness that was taking away from the bigger picture and from Arsenal Football Club. And for that, he deserves a lot of credit, because there aren't many players around like that anymore. It would have been very easy, particularly after Aubameyang first arrived, and there was a long period, wasn't there, where he was in and out of the side, and sometimes, both Wenger, Emery, and then Arteta were trying to shoehorn him and Aubameyang into the side. It never really worked. They never really worked as a combination, I didn't think. Although they were great friends on and off the pitch, you never really felt that cohesion was there in a football sense. And it would have been easy for him to go, well, you know what, I'm a £46.5 million player. I'm not going to stand for this. It would have been easy for him to make a fuss, to be a bit of a problem player. And actually, I never ever got that impression or that feeling from Alexandre Lacazette. So you've got to give him immense credit for that. Wish him all the best in the future. Arsenal clearing the decks for what we believe is going to hopefully be a pretty big money striker signing. We're hearing lots about Gabriel Jesus. He's spoken quite candidly about the fact that he will not be looking at his future until, of course, after Tuesday, when his international duty ends. Perhaps this is, perhaps this moving on of Alexandre Lacazette was something that is partly driven by the fact that we do have somebody in mind, and hopefully that is Gabriel Jesus. But wish Alexandre Lacazette all the best. Won an FA Cup with the Arsenal, good servant to the club, always gave his all. Just unfortunately in the last few seasons wasn't quite at the level required. Don't forget to hit the like button on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Whenever stories break, we'll be trying to bring you some of this short form content. The podcast will continue daily throughout the summer, but I'm going to try and fill you guys' notifications with as much content as we possibly can over the summer to keep you up to date as much as possible. Be back very soon. Cheers. Goodbye.